Hey guys, Palsteron here, and today I'll talk about my league starter for the new Torchlight Infinite League, which is a Mind Control Thea Blasphemer. Now, originally I was going to start something a little bit more interesting with one of the new modifiers, but that kind of fell flat. So here we are, Mind Control. This is one of the most beloved and one of the best league starters over the last few leagues. It is extremely currency efficient, which means in Torchlight that you can get to a high time mark as soon as possible. And in this video, I'm kind of going to talk about my step-by-step progress through the game. This is definitely a beginner-friendly build, no pets needed. The character is not on the battle pass, so free. And yeah, you can just jump in and destroy the game. Before we even start, I'm going to show you a map real quick. This is our main skill, Mind Control. It is a channeled skill, and it basically deals damage to stuff around you while it is channeling. Most important thing about this build, you can go escape, go to battle, and auto channel the skill. This basically turns it into a toggle. So I press 4 once, and now I'm like hands off, right? I'm not even pressing anything to move. I'm just kind of steering in a direction. And while I'm doing this, stuff around me gets hit. And this is one of the reasons why a lot of people love this as a league starter. Torchlight is all about automation. In endgame, you are going to most likely be an auto bomber. You're not going to be pressing a lot of buttons. I'm just going to quickly show you a map here. I'm currently in 8-1s, 8-2s. If you know what that means, you know what that means. But yeah, so I'm just going to jump in. At the start of the map, everything I have is automated. We'll go over that in a little bit. But yeah, I press 4 and this is what I do. And I can blink in between twice. I got a little bit of CDR, but yeah, I just hold down loot button and that is about it. And for a league starter, being an auto bomber is quite a luxury. Our defenses are quite decent for what we're doing. We're not really dying all that much. We got to 95 without a problem, and we're probably going to get to 96 eventually. But yeah, you just go through and everything around you kind of dies. You can see these light, like violet-ish beams coming out, and they hit enemies. You can't really see it all that well. And yeah, I'll explain the skill in a second. Single target, also totally fine. So the easiest skill description is stuff around you dies while channeling. So you channel, and yeah, I mean, you can see it on the dummy maybe a little bit better, but there you go. There's like this beam going out, and as long as you're nearby, it is going to get hit. My current damage with this setup is around about 8-9 billion, with my single target setup around about 15. Traveler 8 I cleared on 5 billion, which was a little bit scuffed, but everything 7 or higher I would say is pretty damn nice. Now damage scaling first up. So this skill is erosion. It's a spell. It is a damage over time. All of those things do count. I guess I should put that in here as well. But yeah, what actually scales the damage? It is a channeled skill. And if you look at the description, it will tell you it gives additional damage, which in this game means multiplicative damage for every +1 max channeled stacks. And you can get that from a lot of different sources. For example, from the Elementalist's focus right here, which is another more multiplier for maximum additional stacks. This is the by far most important stat and also the hardest one to get. However, in endgame, you're going to have a extremely broken support gem right here that you're going to use that will give you like 70-80% more single target, sometimes even more. But yeah, plus to maximum blessings. This is because of the hero that we're playing, which we're going to talk about later, but everything goes. Focus blessings, tenacity blessings, whatever you want. For example, I have this ring right here, which gives me max tenacity blessings. I'll explain that a little bit later, but that one is also top tier. +2 levels did get nerfed this patch, but it is still quite strong. I have it on both my wands. In total, currently with slates and everything, I'm on level 28, but don't stress for that one too much. Reap, I will explain in a second, but basically Reap cooldown recovery rate is very, very strong. A lot of people will tell you about breakpoints. I have not been able to confirm any of those, and I've tried quite a few that people told me. In general, it seems like pretty even scaling down the road, so you don't have to think about that. Increased skill effect duration, super strong. Increased damage, as always, also incredibly strong. Actually, I did forget affliction effect, which we'll also talk about in the next section. What doesn't work is cast speed, reap duration, which we're also going to talk about, and crit. So I can't crit, it's the damage over time, and cast speed doesn't do anything. Now, cast speed will make it so it channels up faster from 0, as you can see right here, which is nice quality of life, especially since whenever you blink, it goes back to 0. But in general, I wouldn't really invest into it too much. Now, let's talk about Reap and also Affliction, but Reap is the most important thing to understand about this build. Reap Purification says it settles 25% of the remaining total damage when reaping. I'm not going to overcomplicate this right here, but basically what this means is depending on how much damage is on the enemy at the time, whenever you reap, you deal a amount of that damage immediately, which is insane on the skill because it does have a skill effect duration, but it gets reapplied over and over and over while you're channeling. Basically, the downside of this is that you're supposed to deal the damage immediately, but then you have to reapply it, which isn't really a downside for us at all. Which is why we scale an absolute crap ton of reaps. We have King's Boon right here, which gives us a reap. We have 2 reaps from both our wands. We have some reaps from the passive tree, from our slates, as many as possible. The duration here doesn't matter, just the cooldown, the lower the better. For example, 1 second is basically GG. And then we have Affliction, which is an enemy debuff. You can think about it as the enemy takes double damage over time, but you can increase the effect of it. So if you have 100% increased affliction effect, they take triple instead. 200%, they take ×4, and so on. And the main reason this is so important is because of how easy it is to get on gear. Affliction effect is a basic affix on a lot of gear pieces, and it is incredibly hard to get any sort of damage on most archetypes in that slot. And these are the cheapest to craft, so you're going to be like just there immediately. Other than that, you usually just have res, maybe a little bit of increased damage, and mostly defensive stuff. Affliction breaks that barrier, and you can have well over 150% in total from your body armor, your helmet, your gloves, later also your ring. On ring, it is an advanced affix, but yeah, just stack it as much as you can. You can never really get enough of it. Another thing I'll put right here, because a game changer, is life and energy shield on defeat or on kill. So on the passive tree, there are new nodes that you can get with slates. So statue of the god right here. You can get this on any Goddess of Knowledge slate, or on a Corner of Divinity, a Fallen Starlight, whatever. Restore 3% of energy shield on defeat. And earlier on, you want on life. This is an absolute crazy game changer with how much enemies come at you. If you don't know, recovery in this game is super rough and is more needed while mapping than maybe on a boss, especially later when you energy shield. But this is a game changer. It will make you so much tankier. So get this as soon as possible. Like I said, early version is life. Endgame version is energy shield. And then we have our hero, which is Thea Blasphemer. If you don't know, the heroes, for example, Thea as a hero, have different traits and they get named by whenever they came out. So Thea 1 was the first one that came out, Thea 2, and this is Thea 3 if you hear people talk about it. Heroes in this game are ridiculously complex with convoluted words and like an absolute arrangement of text that you actually don't have to understand. Now, I did actually sift through these, so I know what they do. I'll make it as easy as possible for you. If you care more, you can also do that, but this is the gist of it. Thea gives you a ton of damage from different multipliers. She also gives you Explodey, which is very valuable and hard to obtain in this game, and she gives you a little bit of movement speed on top. The only thing you need to understand is how Desecration works. So here's the thing. There's stuff that is called blessings in this game. You can get up to 4 focus blessing, 4 agility blessings, and 4 tenacity blessings, kind of like power, frenzy, and endurance charges in PoE. If you get plus to maximum charges, that would mean you get from 4 to 5. So for example, you would think, oh, this ring makes it so I can have 5 agility blessings, but in reality, it's actually the other way around for this hero. That's kind of her quirk. But in return for a +1 that turns into -1, you're also getting 15% more damage on rares and bosses through this desecration effect right here. Can read that here. And it is multiplicative with each other. So it's not like 15 plus 15 is 30% more. It's 15 and then that number times 1.15 and so on and so on and so on. So it is a very strong effect, but it only works on desecrated enemies, and those are usually just rares and bosses. So while this is a strong multiplier, it is not something you necessarily have to get early and is not used as much. She's strong as a whole in general. So her first trait gives you the Explodey and also more erosion damage. Her second trait, there's 2 different ones here. For mapping, you're going to go Tarnished Sage, and for single target, you're going to go Disgraced Minister. This is once again a little bit more damage. You don't need to know all of this, but that's the gist of it. And while mapping, you're going to get the 20% attack cost and movement speed. At the start, it's 15. And on the last one, you go left. Basically always more damage equals good. Now let's talk about progression. If you go up here to pro builds, you can use quick builds and then import somebody's character. I will link all of these codes down below in the description. Here is where you import them. Make sure that you don't have a space anywhere. So for example, if there's a space at the start, check or space at the end. View builds, and then it will open. This is a snapshot. Now, not everything here is perfect. I made a few mistakes as well while leveling. I can't, afterwards, as far as I know, not really change anything. If I put like a wrong point in somewhere. But yeah, this is a snapshot of, at the time, I think this was like 2-3 hours whenever I got, I think it was around about level 66. And we'll go through them real quickly. For leveling, you're going to take the first skill you get right from the get-go, which is Haunting Abomination, with the supports. Everything is in here if you want to follow. Now, if you do want to follow, you can apply all, I think. Was that it? Yeah, apply all. Build has been applied, and you can kind of follow it. Okay. Like I said, there's going to be mistakes and everything and stuff that's going to change. But yeah, in general, that's how you do it. During the campaign, you're getting these side areas, which have these golden portals that you cannot really miss. Sceptre of Excommunication is very important. This is one that you farm from one of these side areas. If you get 2 of these, you don't have to think about your Sceptre or your damage at all anymore. Haunted Abomination is basically just a dot that you put on an enemy, and you just wait until the terror charges up. It's pretty self-explanatory, pretty stupid. The leveling of this build is ridiculous. This character in general, not just this build. Thea 3 is like just, yeah, ridiculous. I don't know how else to describe it. You also get Grace Boots, which are super, super important. If you don't get them, just, yeah, I'm pretty sure you do get them, but either way. Born in Fire, just a ton of life. You can also take the plus to maximum blessing rings that you get during leveling from one of those side areas. Other than that, you're really just looking for increases to damage. So for example, we're starting off here with, let me see, the talent tree. We're starting off in God of Deception. So yeah, increased damage, movement speed, skill area. Now this one does actually scale with attack and cost speed, so you actually do want to get that. And later, once you go into mind control, respec that. You're also going to go for erosion and deterioration chance, which is basically just a more multiplier. You get more here from mixture. Yeah, just more multipliers, and you can see what I'm doing here. Now the second one is when I swap to mind control, and I swapped a little bit late, I'm not going to lie. So this one here, you will see that I'm mind control. I have a lot of different skills, right? You can check that out. Now what I'm going for is Gauze of Phantom Sin, and you should have that from leveling. If you don't, you can go back and farm it yourself or buy it for like 1 FE from the auction house. This one gives you less damage per stack of any blessing, so you want to have as low as possible, and it also gives you +2 blessings. And remember, that means -2 blessings with this character, right? Other than that, I'm really not doing anything fancy. This character kind of builds itself. The most important thing is crafting your wands. I'll talk about that after we're done with the progression section in its own right. But yeah, basically you want wands like this, where you get Reap, damage over time, Int, Affliction, just as many more multipliers as possible. Don't mind the reaping duration, it doesn't really do anything. Affliction per second is also nice QL. With this version, I was farming tier 7s all day, and it was super, super comfy. Don't forget to actually get Int on your Memory of Origin. Get armor or life on your second one. You're still going to be life-based at this point, and movement speed on your third one. And make sure you respect everything accordingly. The third one is T8 ready. This one is, as the name implies, me being ready for tier 8 farming. That means a lot of improvements across the board. I am not yet full energy shield. I'm pretty sure. No, I'm not yet. But I did buy a Twilight Vestment, which is quite expensive. This one means whenever you reap, you get Energy Shield recharge. So it basically goes back up. And other than that, I just got more Energy Shield. At this point, I think I had like 2.5k life, 2.5k Energy Shield, kind of like hybrid. And yeah, as you can see, I have all of these crafted things. I have +1 maximum channel stack on my belt, which is very strong. And I have double Unholy Prayer for the +1 charge. In general, the best charge you get is probably Agility Blessing, because remember, you lose that charge, and Agility Blessing is the worst. So that would be the best. Other than that, I improved my memories. I threw a few of these in with Reaping cooldown recovery rate on my slates. Plus, at this point, I have enough energy that I can just straight up get a 6 link for more damage. In order to start farming tier 8s, you need round about 500 million damage, with 1 billion being somewhere the start weight feels really comfy. But to get that next hurdle and get more damage, I actually went Energy Shield. The reason why going Energy Shield is so strong in this game is because you can reserve your life, which is +1 aura, and auras in this game are completely busted. I'm talking like 40+% more damage, and you get aura effect on top. So let's import that real quickly. This is the full ES version where I transitioned. In order to do that, you need the Twilight Vestment, so your Energy Shield recharge actually starts. You want King's Boon, which are also a little bit more expensive. They're very solid Energy Shield base, give you a ton of extra damage. do look that this one, it's obviously a downside, is as low as possible and the movement speed is as high as possible. Now there's a good chance you had some life rolls on some of your gear. You want to remove those now. So for example, I had, I don't know, life here instead of energy shield, right? And I just had to swap them around. But yeah, that's the most important thing. Get as much energy shield on helmet, gloves, belt. Obviously my implicit is not very good, but it was kind of a budget option. And yeah, your body armor has a little bit as well. The passive tree has changes. Make sure that some of the modifiers that are life, you maybe reroll into something else because they now don't do anything anymore. Now, then I have the day 2 version with good wands. And this one was a little bit of a fail with how expensive embers are right now. I did pay around about 900 FEs to craft both of these wands, and it was only like 30-40% more damage. So if you can kind of like delay these a little bit. But yeah, that's what I did. So now I have the +2 to erosion skill level. If you don't know, at level 86, it gets more expensive to craft your weapons, but you can also get different modifiers on it. So for example, erosion skill level. These are basically just higher than the purple ones, which are tier 2. You can also always see this if you click details, tier 2, tier 1. And on this version, I made a few other changes. For example, I now have a pedigree, which gives me dirt. This is basically a talent on the passive tree, which is 15% more, 15% more. Quite strong. A few other stats right here. And I got some fallen starlights, which are decent. Life and energy shield on kill are an absolute game changer in all of these versions, and I would highly recommend getting them. You will die so much less. After that, I have 2 more. One that is called 10 bill because that's where I did 10 billion damage, and then a Movespeed version, which is basically just for mapping. Use both blurry steps and blink. But let's now go over my current version. All right, so now we're here. It's currently midday 3 when I'm recording this. I currently have a boss damage of around about 14 to 15 billion DPS, and while mapping with movement skills and everything, around about 8 to 9, and I have around 1300 on Ordrak. So let's go over everything. First up, the gear. I still have a lot of the same gear I talked about during progression. As much energy shield as possible, affliction. If you can keep your res, nice. I'm currently actually not res kept because I changed some stuff around, but you definitely want to do that as soon as possible. If you don't know, in this game, res cap is 60%. I still have Unholy Prayer, but other than that, it's basically the same as I showed you earlier. Reaping CDR on your wand, quite strong. Everything else is kind of like a combination of everything. Quite cheap stuff still. I did upgrade my memories to level 40, which gives me gives the trait level +1. So you go from 1 to 2, which is a little bit of an extra stuff, and you also get an extra mod down here. What you want here is just percentage max energy shield and any sort of erosion damage, area damage, right? Skill area, spell damage over time. For the fixed affixes up top, you want intelligence, always, always, always super important. You want energy shield. This one is a huge source for you, especially if you swap from life to energy shield. Make sure to replace this one. I didn't catch that for a while and it was just running around with a life one. And then the bottom one is movement speed. You don't scale with cost or attack speed. Movement speed is the obvious choice. Now in the skill menu, we have 2 candles here. The probably most expensive item I have on my character is this candle. It is currently over 1000 FE, and this one is holy worth it. So this gives you control spell level 1, which is 20 to 30% more damage. I forgot how much it exactly is, but it's like having a 7th link. Super strong, save up for it later. Otherwise on candles, getting +1 to maximum channel stacks is extremely good. Almost as strong as this, I might even add. Otherwise, get like AoE resistances, maybe a little bit of increased damage. On skills, obviously mind control with the best support right here. We have corruption, we're automating it with preparation. Terrain of malice is like blasphemy and PoE. It basically makes it so there's an area around you, and just a little bit of extended duration, so it's always up. Blink is in our clear setup, so this one with quick mobility, cooldown recovery, and magic dash will make you extremely fast. This is also on our clear setup, which is blurry steps. This one gives you movement speed, a ton of it. And if you have like 100 FE for medium preparation, you never have to click it as well. And it's just automated. The problem with the free one, which is preparation, this one doesn't cost you anything, is it only procs every 8 seconds, whereas with blurry step, you really want to proc it every 5 seconds at least. But you can also replace those for the time being if you don't have the monies. Well Fought Battle and Mass Effect just give you extra movement speed effect and extended duration for the uptime. Now, the second curse is a little bit different. So I currently have a pet that gives me +1 curse, and that is this one right here, Poisoned Omen. If you do not have that, you can also get it on a candle mod, or otherwise, what you want to do is you want to completely remove the Entangled Pain for a more multiplier like a Mana Boil. Mana Boil just straight up gives you additional spell damage. You only need to activate it once at the start of the map, kind of like Blood Rage in PoE. Start it once and then it just degens you, but you're not even going to feel it and you just get more spell damage. And you would support it with similar things like Mass Effect and Well Fought Battle. For auras in endgame, you're using 3 50% reservation auras, one of them on your life, which is Seal Conversion. It doesn't matter which one you put on life. These all are basically just more multipliers, more spell damage, more damage over time, and more erosion damage. 2 are on mana, 1 is on life. And then you also have Corrosion Focus, which is just there for the additional erosion damage, and it only takes 20% sealed mana. Now, the extra effect is kind of cute, but it doesn't do that much. If you're wondering why I'm putting some weird supports in here, which seem nonsensical, like Focus Acceleration or Increased Area, the reason for that is on our talent tree, we are Lich, which gives us Off the Beaten Track. This makes it so your support skills have a 95% mana multiplier, which means the more support gems you have, the less mana you actually reserve. So it's actually a upside to just put random other garbage in here. As for passive trees, I already talked about the damage scaling. Other than the damage, you're just looking for as much energy shield as you possibly can. Energy shield recharge is also very strong. Talents on Goddess of Deception are Affliction, and then Forbidden Power. You can also cut this for Deceiver's Might. It's a little bit sketchier. You actually have to activate it. You have to do a movement skill and whatnot, so it doesn't always work. This one does give you -10 Ellie Res. You can play around with this. It's a little bit too awkward for me, so I just went for the more damage. On Lich, like I said, I have the Off the Beaten Track to give me extra reservation. This one means I don't have to take any sealed mana compensation and can still reserve everything I want. Do make sure that you take this note right here because it gives you blur whenever you start to charge. And once again, because of our body armor, that is basically always. On the Psychic tree, once again, if you don't know what Repurification does, check the intro again. Super important, most important part of the build. Otherwise, there's not really anything to write home about. Get as much Reap CDR as you possibly can from the tree, from Slates, whatever. Get as much energy shield as you can. Defense is also energy shield. And on Elementalist, you're just looking for Focus, which is a huge damage multiplier. And other than that, get some Int, +1 max channel stacks. Very strong. As for Slates, other than the pedigree we already talked about, there are a lot of Goddess of Deception mods that are quite good. So you can have a combination of Reaping cooldown recovery speed, +2 levels, more damage against Cursed, more damage if your life and mana is reserved at the same time, a lot of energy shield mods, right? So if you just randomly craft on these, you usually get a good combination. None of this was planned, none of this was rerolled, it just kind of happened, so there's not really much to talk about. Affliction effect is very good. The only super important mod, as I said in the intro already, is this 3% energy shield on defeat, and earlier in the life version, the life on defeat. This one you can get on a Goddess of Knowledge Slate or a Goddess of Might Slate if you need the life one. But yeah, on a corner or on a Fallen Starlight, it would be even better. As for pets, this one just depends on what you have. Obviously, if you have a legendary that kind of fits the mold, that's quite strong. If you get your free legendary pet, most likely, if you want to play this build for a while, I would take Bonnie for the max channel stacks +2. This one is ridiculous. The other ones are kind of so-so. But in general, I'm not that familiar with all the pets. You should just kind of use what you have. And if it is a common one, that is what it is. If you want to search here, Erosion and Persistent are quite good. Also Spell. Now let's talk about early game Sceptre craft. This is probably the most important thing to get your damage up. I'm currently in the T8 ready category. And I'm just going to kind of take it step by step. So these are the ones you want to get. If you look here in details, you can see these are all tier 2 mods. And tier 2 modifiers are quite quote-unquote easy to get with crafting. Crafting in this game is busted. Buying items is usually bad. If you're starting in week 3, week 4, you can look for a bargain, but that's usually how it is, especially if you're starting early. So the mods you're looking for in these are Int, Damage Over Time, Reap, and then Affliction Effect, Erosion damage. This reaping duration is actually bad. You would instead want a energy shield charge mod. So this doesn't really do anything. But these 5 mods up top are Really important. And you also want a Sceptre. Scepters roll a lot of these dot mods. Do not use a wand. And you want a implicit here, which is called a sequence. This is the normal implicit. This is every Sceptre. But you want a sequence. And you want one of the following. You want reaping, cooldown recovery rate, affliction effect, or like I have here, additional damage over time. All of these are around about the same, and reaping CDR is usually the most expensive one, so maybe go for one of these. But super important, the Sceptre needs to be between level 82 and 85. And the reason for that is tier 2s can start rolling at 82, but over 85, it costs more to craft. So make sure you do this. I'll show you how to search it right now. So you go to trade, you go advanced, then you go to other, down here, weapon, where is it? Sceptre, item base. I think it's a Trickster Sceptre earlier. Yeah? So Trickster Sceptre, make sure that you have item level, minimum 82, maximum 85. And then you just type in sequence. And let's say, for example, probably the most inexpensive one right now is the additional damage over time. So that should be somewhere here. Let's see. Basic sequence, additional damage over time. Boom. I guess it's not Trickster Sceptre, actually. Maybe it is Thornsea Sceptre. Oh, yeah, it's Thornsea Sceptre, my bad. So these ones are like, yeah, as you can see right here, 2 FE, 5 FE. These other ones are already crafted, so maybe you get a steal, right? But in general, I'm going to show you how to do it yourself. So, okay, I'm going to buy this one for 1 FE right here. And it is extremely, extremely easy from here. You click on craft. You need 2 of these, once again. So now, these precious embers are quite expensive right now, and they're annoying to get. Flame Sand you're going to have out of the wazoo. Now, you might be in like Time Mark 4, Time Mark 5, so maybe that's going to change. The first tip is go here and do boss conquest as high as you can. Even if you can only get 200 or whatever, you're still going to get free currency. Now, there's basic and advanced affixes. All you have to know is advanced affixes need matchless embers, and basic affixes precious embers. It doesn't really matter. They're both roundabout the same to get. But here's what's going on. Info, if you want a tier 2, it is a 1 in roundabout 30-ish. And if you want a tier 3, it gets a lot easier. So for example, I click right here and I note that I need reap or I need damage over time. So I do autocraft. And now you put here damage over time, tier 2, tier 2. Now, if you're stuck on currency, you can also do tier 3 just to go safe. But I'm just, for example, going to do tier 2 here. And then you start auto-crafting. And now it's going to roll this until you hit one of these 2. Now, let's say on the second one, we're going to do tier 3. So next empty affix, let's say we settle for a tier 3. Start auto-crafting, boom. And it's like an 8% chance to hit. So you can see we hit it. Okay. The next one you need is intelligence. So you go to advanced affix. Let's say here we also settle for a tier 3 because we don't have that much money. Start auto crafting. We hit the tier 3. Pretty cool. You can also see the ranges. Once you go over here, you can see the roll ranges. Maybe that will change something. On suffixes, it's pretty straightforward. All the mods we want are basic affixes. So you go auto craft, tier 2 energy shield charge speed, tier 2 affliction effect, tier 2 erosion damage, and let's go. Until we hit it, either one of those will stop the craft. So you can see your currency is trickling down. We hit tier 2 energy shields charge speed. Then you go next. Now you only have to get affliction effect, erosion damage, auto craft, boom, until we hit one of it. Okay, we hit the erosion damage. Now, affliction effect is the most important one, so I personally would not really skimp on it. But let's say we do skimp on it and we say tier 3. There it is. These scepters can cost upwards of, I don't know, 50 FE on the market. This is why it's important to look here. And you might say, oh, precious embers, this kind of pays off. 50 is actually kind of a good deal. But you have to remember that you get a lot of these that are character bound. You cannot sell them, and they're basically free, quote unquote. You get them from Ordrak, you get them from quest rewards, you get them from progressing through the time marks. So using them from early damage boosts is very strong. And once you have 2 of these scepters, basically nothing can stop you all the way to tier 7s. For tier 8s, you will have to do a little bit more, but we already talked about that. As for super expensive upgrades at the very end, I'm just using this build to transition to a different build. But if you want to look it up, you can go to hero ranking. Now, what you want to do is you click on your hero and then on mind control, and you will see a ton of people who will take this character way, way, way further. And what kind of gear do they have? Well, they're using Dawnbreak, they're using False Gods, they're using Providence. Like, They're using all sorts of stuff. They have better gear, right? Like what are they doing? What are they doing on the Slate setup? It's kind of like in PoE with PoE Ninja, and you kind of go from there. But yeah, that's about all I got for today. Whatever you guys are starting, Torchlight Infinite is fun. League mechanic is good. I'm going to be putting out some more videos as well regarding making early currency. But yeah, with that being said, since I still don't have a slogan, see you next time.